Hi everyone, welcome to the Art of KCF. I am coming at you on a Friday afternoon in rural Minnesota ahead of the big storm that's headed our way, but I thought it would be fun if I shared a little bit about some of the recent items that I acquired for the Art of KCF projects in Studio Utopia. So first up, I do want to say that I acquire a lot of my art materials thrifting, and I do that for two reasons. One, I am very mindful of the environment and want to leave a better mark on the planet than maybe I otherwise would if I wasn't thinking about it. So because of that, I really like to thrift. I like to recycle, I like to repurpose, I like to reuse, all those good things. And going to the thrift is usually way cheaper than going elsewhere. So I am in the midst of a reorganizing situation with my fabric stash. So I've been working on this new sewing station for my paintings that I've been making, like the one behind me, where I'll eventually affix some fabric to the bottom part, the border around this painting, in a quilted manner. So some of them will be blocks, some of them will be different fabrics that I'm pulling. For instance, I have this beautiful flannel nightgown that my tia made me, and it'll be cut up and put into this painting. So for that, I tend to need a lot of sewing tools. And so one of the first things that I want to show, and I'll tell you the price points as well, is this amazing embroidery hoop that I was able to bring into my collection. It's a 14-incher for the low price of $2.99. So these giant hoops are good for hand quilting if you want to keep your materials together and not moving when you're moving your needle and thread through. And I like to pick up embroidery hoops whenever I see them in all sizes, because you can do so much with a hoop. And I have a dream sometime in the near future to take my embroidery hoops and do like little mini painting thread stitch things with them for, you know, the future when I have more time on my hands, which is obviously not now. All right, so I've got two bags. This is not going to be very aesthetically pleasing, so just bear with me. Just know that, because the thrifts just use plastic bags. But this is what we are going to be going through together to see what else I found on my journey. I'm going to just like dump this out so that it stops rustling. This is also really fun because I haven't looked at this haul since I purchased it, so it's kind of like new to me. First up is this little pack of what I'm assuming are pot holders. Not really very pretty, like a terrible print of vegetables on here. You can see I got this for 50 cents. I think my friend said that maybe these were from the dollar store. I don't know, I don't shop at the dollar store, so I haven't seen anything like this. But I have been looking to thrift some of these, especially ones that have like a hook in the center, because my really good friend, Kate White, who's also an amazing painter, if you are not watching her YouTube show, How Do You Paint? Just stop my video right now and go watch it. Yes, I'm promoting somebody else's content here because that's how I roll. And if you're a painter or an artist, you're going to want to watch it because it is so relevant to the creative process and the challenges that we all face as we're battling our inner demons and the external demons, as we face an empty blank canvas, and even as we face a filled canvas. So go watch it. But anyways, Kate White paints on repurposed textiles like this all the time. So she will sometimes paint on placemats. I actually have a portrait that she did that is on a hot pad like this that's in my personal art collection. So I was like, oh, that looks really fun to paint on some different surfaces. So I started looking for these at the Thrift to begin amassing a collection so that I can, again, for a future project, work on these. Up next, I think you're gonna be so excited to see this one. So I'm gonna open it up and actually pull it out of its bag. This was 50 cents. It is a giant spool of neon yellow thread. Look at how incredible this is. And you know, it's kind of stained in some places, but honestly, if you're running this through your sewing machine, you don't really see that on this like tiny surface, you know, of the thread. Like when you pull out the thread itself, it is not dingy at all. And I think that I could probably lint brush this and clean it up a little bit, but I just cannot tell you how excited I was when I spotted this. It says it's neon yellow in here. It was made in the US, so that's exciting. Anyways, love, love, love this find. I have no idea what I'm going to use it for, but you can bet your bottom dollar that I will be incorporating this into upcoming Art of KCF paintings. And how cool would it be to like stitch your fabric in with this neon and to see those little neon threads poking through with a running stitch or even a chain stitch. I mean, this is not the best of embroidery threads, so it's probably better to use for some smaller detail areas, but I can see this getting a lot of really good use in the studio. I have some Singer heavy duty sewing machine needles. Well, and the really fun part about this is that somebody saved this from the landfill. So as you can see in the package, because I went to the thrift store, one of these sewing needles has been used in somebody's machine. But fun/wild fact, you are supposed to change your sewing machine needle like after every 6 hours of using your machine, which is wild because I just read that after very recently because I've been going through this tub of materials and I came upon this notebook that I took notes when I went to take the class on how to use my sewing machine. Yeah, I know, I'm a nerd. So what? I took the free class after I bought my machine over a decade ago, probably 15 years ago, 20-ish years ago. And at that class, that is where I learned that information. And I mean, look it up. I'm just repeating what I was told in this class. Maybe it's for big sewing machine, you know that phrase. Anyways, maybe they just want you to buy more needles so that you are replacing them more often. But I mean, your needle does get dull as you're using it, but I like to kind of fly by the edge. And I'm not really proud to admit it, but I will admit it to you. I have changed my sewing machine needle maybe 3 times in my lifetime. Not that I sew a lot, and actually I've been sewing a lot more, so I probably will get into the swing of changing that out a little bit more frequently. But it's good to have different kinds of needles for the different tasks that you need, and I don't think that I have any heavy duty needles in my stash, so these are going to come in really handy, especially if I need to like move through some really heavy duty fabrics. Did you even know that there's like different weights of needles? I did, but again, not like I'm actually following the rules of how to use my machine because I'm not replacing my needle very often. I have a little pouch of mending wool that was $2, which, you know, someone might say, let me just open this and stop chattering at the same time. You know, next haul video, I'm gonna have like a little knife or something so I can get in here a little bit easier. What I love about these are that these are like vintage. And I don't even know if I can say this for sure, but one of the ways that I see if something is truly vintage is like noting where it's made. And these were all made in the US. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that we do not really manufacture a lot of thread, especially if it's mending wool. Like the majority of wool is manufactured elsewhere nowadays. So the fact that these were actually made in the USA means that they are vintage wool. And I just absolutely love that they are on their original cards. And look at how much there is. So obviously this came from somebody's sewing stash, and you want to have a variety of different colors of mending wool so that you can do some fun designs when it's time to do your mends. And like I said before, I'm really into trying my best to keep things that don't need to be in the landfill out of the landfill. And one of the things that I've just kind of made as a best practice in my studio is to try to keep all textiles out, and the house actually, is to try to keep all of the textiles that I have out of the landfills as much as I can. So for me, that looks like cutting different fabrics up and incorporating them into quilts, using them as fiber fill, using them to be the backing for embroidery if I'm doing that by hand. So I have all kinds of strategies, and maybe I'll make another video someday about how I use that kind of strategy in my studio. I've got another package of needles here that I purchased. It is a baggie that has several different kinds of needles together in one area. And let's open it up and see what's in here. So incredible. These needle packs are basically like nobody used them. I've got a couple of different types of embroidery. Will this focus? No. Okay, that's fine. Embroidery needles. We've also got Style 2020 for various weight woven fabrics for Singer and other household machines. And what's really nice is that there's color coding on the needles here to tell you what size each of them are. And all 5 of them are in the card. So pro and plus there. And then I have another tiny little assorted needle pack, which are great to just throw into a bag so you always have the size that you need. I have no idea. I've never seen this tool. I have never used this tool, but I just couldn't help myself. I don't know if you're already like, what is that? But it was $2. It's made out of metal, and it's got this green felted part on the bottom so that it doesn't slide when it's up against other material. And it's called a Tackett pattern marker. And it was made in Dayton, Ohio, and has a US patent, and it's called a Tackett pattern maker. So as you can see, this comes down and will be effective in like holding some things together. So I'm not exactly sure how to use it, but I thought it would look good in my sewing area. Even if I don't use it now, I might need to use it, because you never know in times of apocalypse when you might need to tack down a pattern to cut it, or to, I don't know, mark somehow with this tool. If you know how to use this tool, or if it's something that you're familiar with, let me know in the comments, please, because clearly I could use the help. I just feel like you can never have too many needles, and so I got a couple more packs of needles for hand embroidery. Some of them have been used, but I don't know. I just also really love this old school packaging, and they're gonna look nice in my sewing area. The last thing out of this one bag that I want to show is I also like to collect found cross stitch or embroidery that is either completed or in progress. And so this came with a broken hoop, but it's a completed project, and you can tell it's completed because somebody actually took the time to create not just this like really fun fringe around the edge, but sewed it down on the back. But one of the things that I found so interesting about this piece that I purchased for $2 at the thrift store is, and of course this is broken, so unfortunately this is going to have to go into the recycle bin. Someone tried to glue it, but it fell back apart. This is a cross stitch, which is really beautiful and it looks good. Well done. But what I find so fascinating is that the person that made this cross stitch did not follow the typical conventions on how to make a cross stitch. And by that I mean they did not continuously move their squares across the surface of the grid. And actually, as I'm looking at it, I can see where they like messed up. That's really fascinating. The tree's looking great. The house did not turn out so great, but look at how cool this pattern and texture is on the back here. So I think what I will end up doing is putting this back out somewhere on a painting. So we'll see where that ends up, but I'm gonna have to take this thing off of here so that it can lay flat, but no problem. Easy peasy to do. This video is getting kind of long, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and say that this is part 1 of the thrift haul, and I will come back for part 2 hopefully sooner than later, because I got to keep working on organizing this bucket. And yeah, I'm going to sign off for now. But thanks for joining me to look through some of the fun things I found at the thrift store that support my art project and practice here at the Art of KCF. I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to your comments. Like and subscribe, do all the things. You know what to do. So I've got embroidery, crewel, and tapestry needles in this pack. Oh, wow. Yeah, sorry about that shaky hand. I didn't eat lunch today, that's why. Okay, clearly gotta look at the camera, not the side.